Welcome back, everyone. So, in this one, I wanted to release the video where I talk about things that we can actually do as far as the pain management dilemma goes. So, first of all, I'd like to say that there is a group out there called Don't Punish Pain. And their sole focus is to be activists in this realm, and they're fighting the CDC guidelines. This is another thing that I found out is that the CDC, if you have chronic pain in the United States, the CDC has made it so that you can only prescribe opiate pain medications for three reasons. One, if it's acute, meaning like you've had a surgery and they give you a bottle of pain meds until you heal. The second tier is if you have cancer, and then the third tier is end of life. Those are the only reasons you can now receive pain medications. So there's a lot of doctors out there that are against this because if you have chronic pain, then you know that chronic pain is no joke. It's not funny. People who have chronic pain nowadays are expected to uproot their life and completely change everything about it to suit the accommodation or the condition that they have. Meaning changing your job, changing how you do things, changing what you do for fun. And that's what it boils down to. It also explains, like, have you been seen for chronic pain and they start talking about seeing a psychologist? That has to, like, actually this group, Don't Punish Pain, has brought up why your doctors are doing that. It has to do with the psychological premise that was thrown out a long time ago that suddenly, for some reason, are using now, that states that pain is a psychological condition, not a physical one. Boy, what a crock of shit. I'm pretty sure we know that the main nerve that runs down my right arm is being pinched and crushed somewhere in my brachial plexus. We know this because we can inject a local anesthetic or anesthetic into the scalene muscles in my neck, and it will absolutely alleviate me from pain. You don't even need to use steroids. It will alleviate me from pain for 3.5 days specifically. And we know that if we put Botox into the scalene muscles of my neck, it will alleviate pain for up to 3 months. But here's the kicker. My arm would be partially paralyzed. So what kind of model is that? What does that tell you about the society and the system that we live in? Is that saying, well, we'll paralyze your arm for 3 months, but you won't be in pain? What kind of ultimatum is that? You won't be in pain, but you'll have your arm paralyzed. And that's the other aspect of something that I could do for the condition that I have of chronic pain is surgery. Well, the problem with that is that there's complications that come with the surgery, because what they'll do in the surgery is they'll remove the scalene muscles in your neck. They can't singe the nerve in my arm because that'll paralyze my entire arm. But removing the scalene muscles in your neck would make my neck up here weak. And some of these muscles are responsible for doing things like this. So if you can imagine what kind of complications come from removing muscles, just do the math. My suggestion was actually there's things that I would suggest doing, but they would be incredibly unpopular and not something that anyone that was taking anything serious would back up. But things that I have thought about that I will never do, and I can't mention on YouTube because YouTube would probably ban me. First of all, it's getting the doctors to work with the patients. There are doctors out there that are advocating against this sort of stuff. There absolutely are doctors out there that are advocating against it, but you have to be also aware of what situation the doctor is in, that there are doctors being arrested by the DEA, like literally held down at gunpoint for prescribing opioids and opiate medications to people with chronic pain. That's happening. So doctors need support from the people, and ultimately that's so that the people can get the support from the doctors. The other aspect is going around insurance companies and paying for things out of pocket and saying, if the doctor says insurance won't cover that, say, fuck the insurance company. I'll pay for it out of pocket. That's going to be extremely expensive, but in the long term, it might be worth it. There's also, if your pharmacy that you go to declines filling your prescription medication, you can take them to small claims court and sue them. That is extremely encouraged at this point. The whole the reason why we've seen a spike in heroin use in the United States is probably directly linked to the opiate epidemic and not prescribing pain medication to people who suffer from chronic pain. People who are in pain, they become desperate and they look for pain treatment anywhere they can get it, and that includes off the street. And the other aspect too is that when the media talks about the opiate epidemic, they're lumping everything together. They're not just talking about pain meds that are prescribed by doctors. They're talking about people who are using illegal substances, obtaining things illegally, even if it's pain medications that they've obtained illegally. But predominantly, they're talking about heroin and heroin mixed with fentanyl. Those statistics and those deaths are being thrown in with the same statistics as pain medications. Realistically, most people with chronic pain, they might get addicted to pain medication, but the problems that we're seeing are not coming from pain medications being prescribed to people. There absolutely is a responsible way to prescribe pain medications and a responsible way to take them. And the CDC is basically punishing the people that can prescribe the pain medications responsibly and punishing the people that can take them responsibly. Remember, everything else I've gone over here is that a lot of the alternative pain medications are just as, if not even more addictive than opioid and opiate medications. I think the big argument to take home here is the one that I've made about bodily autonomy, and two, the fact that just because something isn't an opioid or an opiate doesn't mean it's safe. That's a big takeaway from this. So there's a lot of litigations happening, and a lot of there's groups of people out there that are trying to take the person who there's actually a lobbyist that got a very specific person at the CDC to create these guidelines. It's not the CDC in its entirety. It's one guy that came up with these guidelines that have made it impossible for someone with chronic pain to get pain medication. This includes veterans. So that's another alternative, and this is very rebellious, and it might take really rebellious actions to make things happen. I sometimes it works in the opposite direction, but coming from a perspective of somebody who's been a marijuana advocate for many, many years before any state had legalized it, I can tell you that people will dub you an addict no matter what you do or say. Doesn't matter what kind of evidence you can provide. If you advocate for it, you are an addict. Period. That's the way they view this stuff. Now, it's going to get really tricky when it comes to opioid and opiate medications because we do know those can produce a physical dependency. Now, marijuana, there's just no evidence to suggest this. There are some people that say that they're addicted, but honestly, like I've quit smoking marijuana cold turkey before and nothing happened. I would freak out about nicotine before I freaked out about not getting marijuana in my system. I had a sinus infection recently, actually, and I don't smoke when I have infections. I don't. It makes the infection worse. It makes it take longer to go away. So I don't smoke when I have sinus or respiratory infections. Whether it even be a common cold. I couldn't wait for it to go away so I could vape and get nicotine. I wasn't worried about weed. I was worried about nicotine. That's addiction. And these people, they want to act like we don't know the difference between addiction and wanting relief from pain. It's pretty obvious, like I've had a prescription given to me for tramadol, 21 pills. Granted, I've taken some, but that prescription has lasted well over a month. That's not something an addict would do. If I was addicted, those would have been gone by now. They're not gone. I still have them. Been over a month. So this is something they don't take into account. And the person behind the CDC, if they want to stop the opiate epidemic, they're doing a really bad job. Because what they've done is they've made it to where drug cartels are like, they've got giant dollar bill signs in their eyes right now. Because they're like, there's people out there in chronic pain that are not getting treatment. This is something that we could cash in on. And we're seeing that. That's absolutely what we're seeing. So what the CDC is doing has the opposite effect of what they hope it will do. This is a nightmare. I would advise that there's I mean, our hands are pretty much tied when it comes to the CDC because basically doctors are at the point where they're scared to prescribe medications, pain medications, because they could end up with a gun at the back of their head, and being hauled off to federal prison just for prescribing a medication to somebody with chronic pain. So the thing that it's looking like what's in action now is holding the lobbyist and the person at the CDC accountable to this through litigation and law and taking them to court. And if you want information on that, I will leave some information about this group. They exist on several platforms. They've got a huge following. You would not believe the types of chronic pain conditions that are being denied pain management treatment. You would not believe it. So I will try to leave a link in the description of anything that has the information about the group. Although I don't know any of the followers on this channel would be applicable. This group will not accept you in it unless you yourself are a chronic pain person or you have a loved one that has chronic pain. But it's very serious. They are seriously talking about taking this to court and suing there's several people involved that have created this from academia, and that one guy at the CDC who is friends with one of the people from academia. And like I said, taking them to court and making it so that these people cannot practice in academia today, because believe it or not, there's a large amount of people in the medical field that do not agree with the CDC's regulations on this. The only 3 reasons you can get opiate and opioid medications are it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And I also like to point out that this is not like I've talked to people in other countries. This is apparently not a thing in other countries. I have a friend that lives in Australia. They're being prescribed an opiate agonist. This is essentially a man-made opiate or opioid. And he's being prescribed this for alcohol abuse and depression. When I found out, this is from Australia, when I found out about this, I said, that would never happen in the United States. You would never get that medication for those reasons in the United States. The fucked up part is it's working, it's helping him. That's fucked up. So here, if you have, in the United States, if you have chronic pain, you're pretty much just fucked. You're fucked. There's nothing they can do other than trying to prescribe you the psychiatric meds. And if those work, great. I think that's awesome that they work for you. Unfortunately, there's people out there that can't take those. So, and doctors know that. They know that. And you have to, it's getting to a point where you can't even be honest with your doctor. Like, let's say you're a survivor of rape. You can't tell your doctor you're a survivor of rape and have a chronic pain condition, because if you tell them you're a survivor of rape, they put you in a category that says you're likely to abuse this drug and you won't get any pain meds here in the United States. After looking through all this, and this group addresses issues that I've already had with the system, such as the fact that the insurance companies have no regulations on them whatsoever. I have an issue with that, with or without chronic pain. That's a huge issue. But I think it's going to take doctors and people in the medical industry saying, no, fuck this, I'm going to do this anyway. It's going to take some aspect of rebellion. Honestly, if we keep heading down this road, that's where it is heading. Is you're looking at a mass exodus of people going on disability because they have chronic pain and they can't work. You're looking at a mass use of heroin, like a spike increase in heroin use, because the people who are selling this shit on the street, they don't care about your health. They just care about getting the money. It is absolutely about business. So I love it when people say that's not free market capitalism. That is free market capitalism. That's unregulated capitalism. That's what that is. When a company can exist solely to take money from you and provide no service whatsoever, I'm sorry to say that's capitalism without regulation. I don't know what else you would call that than free market capitalism. You need regulations on capitalism to keep things like that from happening. But that's aside the point. The CDC here seems to be the one that is the bad guy. Specifically, the very specific individual that created this model for prescribing pain meds, that it could only be for acute, cancer, or end of life. And that's it. So anyone with chronic pain has been completely thrown out the window. They've been ran over by a vehicle by the government. Oh, but the other rebellious aspect was growing your own opium poppies. Smoking opium poppies is going to be less addictive. It's going to be effectual in taking care of pain management. It's just not going to be as super concentrated as the medications that are prescribed. It is illegal to do, but at this point, it's like the government is making decisions on our behalf over our head and basically saying they want to play parent, saying I know what's best for you. I'm going to treat you the way that I think that you should be treated, and it's completely devoid of bodily autonomy and a person's right to choose what they think is best in their own life. So I wouldn't talk to your doctor directly, but if you have friends that work in the medical community, when they're off the clock, talk to them about this stuff. See what you can do to advocate for your health. Because like I said, you one of the things that puts me in the category of not being able to receive pain medications is the fact that I've been diagnosed with bipolar type 2 and panic and anxiety disorder. That says, oh, you're a candidate for abusing drugs. So it's unfortunate. So I'd be looking at those litigations. That I think is a smart move, and it could possibly even work and undo what's been done, because they need to, at the very least, the CDC needs to add chronic pain, or at least very specific chronic pain conditions, like maybe not like carpal tunnel or tennis elbow, but the condition like I have, eventually my hand is going to atrophy. That's what's in store for me in the future. My hand is going to atrophy. And I can't work because I can't get pain meds. And so their response is, from the medical perspective, of get him out of the way of doing anything that causes pain so that we don't have to prescribe him anything to deal with pain. That's the idea behind that. And that's what I mean. You're talking about a mass exodus of people going on disability, and I don't think the states can. I don't think they can foot that bill. The amount of people that have chronic pain, and you got people that are willing to work, and on one hand, you've got corporations that can basically say we're not going to hire you because we can't accommodate you. That's not an ADA violation. So that's where it's at. Again, the name of the group of activists is Don't Punish Pain. We'll see if I can talk to them about going on Twitter, because I've seen very, very productive activist movements happen on Twitter and doing things like tweeting at the CDC the atrocities that they've done. You don't need to be a doctor, and you don't need to be super smart to figure out that this is illogical. That what are the people with chronic pain supposed to do if they can't get a job? They don't have backing by insurance companies, and they can't get pain relief. And it's really, really hard to file for disability. These are things that the CDC probably should have considered before making that. But my initial response was to rebel. Rebel as hard as you can and stop being complicit with it. Nobody voted for this. Nobody voted for this. This decision was made over everyone's head. I'll leave you to your thoughts. I need to get back into making videos for the e-file lists or the e-life lists, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to do that. I might come back to this subject because I think there's an activist aspect to this pain management dilemma. And it's something that I agree with. I mean, you're looking at somebody who thinks that all drugs should be decriminalized or even legal, that we are wasting a lot of time, resources, and energy trying to control something that ultimately cannot be controlled. And that's the same for you, e-lifeless. You are spending an awful lot of time, energy, and resources trying to control something you cannot control. I just think it's that's a different video. I'll save that for a different video. I made this simple because like it's been really hard the past few days. I've been in a lot of pain. So like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. Really love to know what you think in the comment section below, especially you guys from other countries. I have a feeling that this is a non-issue for you guys. From my understanding, this is not a thing. That I think people with chronic pain in other countries are getting treatment. And over here in the United States, we want to dare to call ourselves free. It doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't feel like we're free at all. And it feels like it's the authoritarianism is getting worse and worse by the day. I'm out.